Last week on the channel, we officially moved out of the reconstruction phase for the walls at least, and it was time to put ink to paper, or rather paint to sheetrock. I got the walls primed and painted in my very new favorite color, Oak Moss by Sherwin-Williams, and with the walls and ceiling done, or done enough, I was able to install the can lighting, the picture lighting on the walls, and the ceiling fan. That made me deliriously happy once it was done, and the road to getting it done was anything but happy. Today it is time to start the finishing details. I don't know how to start this other than to say it's disclaimer time. We're coming to a close on the drawing room. This episode means that after today, there are 3 to go. That being said, what you're gonna see today, and over the next 2 videos really, is footage that took place over the course of a few months. I worked on things simultaneously in the room. Some days I felt inspired to work on the transom wall. Some days I felt inspired to work on stripping the trim. There were days that I had to do the ceiling, days that I had to work on the feature wall. So you will see things in the background in some of these shots that were not discussed, and they will be in later videos. Specifically today, you will see bits of the coffered ceiling towards the end of the video. It will be covered next week, I promise. So today we are doing floors, we are stripping wood, and we are talking about my partnership with SmartWings on the motorized shades. Please enjoy. Sorry for any disjointedness, and talk to you later. This isn't necessarily like exciting enough for me to set up the tripod or anything, but I bought this tool off of, what's the brand? Alway, off of Amazon. And it came with all these different razors. And some of them are pointed and some are rounded. But what you do with it is you go along and scrape the polyurethane and stain off of these, because tomorrow I will get the big giant sander to take care of stuff. And these were the bits that I couldn't get off when I refinished the floors originally. So I'm gonna do my due diligence and try and scrape this off. I have some really small hand sanders. I've got attachments for that Milwaukee multi-tool so I can really get into the corners. But my plan is tonight to get through everything that's around the border of the drawing room, the foyer, and the closet, which the closet is pretty good. I mean, you can see against the walls, it's pretty good. This is like tedious, boring work, so I'm not gonna record it because the phone would have to be right there. Yeah, but that's like partially done. So I think after I've scraped the initial shit out of there, I'll vacuum that up, and I will take my orbital sander with a 60 grit, or I might have 50 also, but with a really thick grit, see how far down I can get, and then I'll start using the other tools at my disposal. Yeah. This is a prime example here of, I've gone over this several times to clean it up. That is something that I could not get to when I originally did the floors 2 years ago. So you can see the old shellac and varnish, and then that is with it stripped and all the little staples and nails. Then I get to go along and try and scrape out these so that the wood filler has someplace to go. Another thing as I'm sitting here is that I have that fancy little tool that I got, which was like $9, and it was doing well, but the blade was already starting to wear off. And in order to get this piece out, which was drilled into from when they, drilled holes to get this guy in, I had to chisel it out with a chisel. And as I was sitting here thinking about, what's my next step, I was like, would one of these work doing it? And you guys, look, it does work. Not as like smoothly as the other one, but it does work. That's just good to know. But from what I've done over there, after I do the scraping, I've gone through with this with the sanding attachment on it, and then my little mouse sander thing. It's perfect. It's done a great job. So I'm really pleased with that as well. Okay. Okay. Oops. Why are you looking so scared? It's not the vacuum. It's okay. Old Papa. You old man. Okay, fun fact. This is the exact same unit that originally sanded these floors. Got it from my local Ace Hardware. I've got 3 grits of sandpaper, so there's 60, 80, and 100. I could have gone lower, but I really don't need to in here because it's pretty much, you know, it's stripped already, except for the closet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by going diagonally across the room with the 60 because I don't wanna like ruin my pads in the closet with whatever I couldn't get off with the varnish remover that I used this morning. I didn't record it because it wasn't very exciting. Hopefully I can get this done pretty quickly, get that wood stuff applied, and with any luck, I might be able to get the first layer of polyurethane applied tonight, which would be awesome, but it might have to wait for tomorrow, and that's okay. So let's get going. Getting these off is not the easy part. You might have been able to see there's some like dark streaks showing up, and that is from the wax that's left behind by the shellac or the varnish that was in the closet. It's funny because it makes a particular hissing noise as I'm doing this that I can hear it very well. It didn't burn too bad on. I'm not sure if you can see that. I mean, it's nothing like the first time that I sanded the floors, which was awful. I wanted to get as much mileage out of this pad as I could before I switched to a new one. And this did a pretty good job of getting the bulk of it up. So I'm still gonna use a new one to go diagonal now before I get back into the closet here. I'll save this for the last of every roll because I don't want to, you know, use the good stuff in the closet. Coming up from the dreaded basement. God, these masks just murder my nose. Got my mixing attachment. So I'm gonna mix the wood filler now. I've done 2 drums, I don't know what you'd call them, of 60 grit, and I just finished doing the 80 grit, which did get the closet floor a little bit lighter. It doesn't want to really lighten up. It smells great in here. I'm pretty pleased with this. It's funny, I forgot what it was like to sand the floors. It's not hard, it's just boring and tedious. It does get frustrating because you can keep seeing your track marks essentially. And I know they'll go away when I do everything with the grain for like the final several passes, because I think depending on how this wood filler works and if it comes off easily like it's supposed to, I shouldn't have to go crisscross applesauce on the floors. I should be able to just do the straight lines. My hope is that because the cracks are so small that I'm filling, that the stuff dries really quick, because it says that it can dry in like 2 hours, and then I can sand the rest of it tonight and get a coat of polyurethane on, possibly, because then I can just lock myself in my bedroom with the cats for like an hour tonight without them, you know, trying to escape and walk on it. The good thing about the water-based polyurethane that I'm using, which I'll show you guys, and you know, I'll link everything below. It's dry to the touch in 30 minutes, and it's super easy to apply because you truly just pour it and use the squeegee thing. I'm gonna mix this stuff up. I'll get you set up on the camera in there for it. I'm gonna use a rubber float that I use for spreading grout. I'm gonna use that. They said you should use a metal trowel, but I don't want to do that because I might scratch the floor. And I have the float, and I think it would work fine. So this is the stuff. Wood-wise, wood filler. Look at it, poofing out. And this mix is for maple, ash, and pine. Now you can get different mixes for like oak floors, whatever. The maple, ash, and pine, I figured that was gonna blend the best since I'm not doing a stain on the floor, it's just polyurethane. Now I need to mix 3/4 of the bag with half a gallon of water. And then it said you can change your water consistency from there. I don't know how accurately I'm gonna measure 3/4 of the bag, but okay. That's about 3/4. And I've already got 4 cups of water here. Pour that in. Okay, so that's a half gallon. Now, we're gonna mix this up. I already know I need more water. Oops. Damn this thing.
Darn this stuff!
Okay, after a quick vacuum, because I'm a mess, let's see how this does. Start over here. I'm so tired of crawling around on this floor. All right, please be... All right, well, the float works pretty well. Keep on going. This is one of those things that when I was doing the floor originally, I kept thinking, man, it would be nice if you could fill all these gaps in. I didn't know that this was a thing. I think I saw it maybe a year later on Instagram and it was like, oh shit. Well, too late now, because I never thought that I would be refinishing the floors that I already refinished. I was literally just gonna say, I'm not worried about it getting on the wall, and then I flick it all over the wall. This is a workout, and it's a mess. Oh my God. I am dripping in sweat. This is simultaneously as easy and as hard as it looks. Drenched in sweat, but I think I have it in my hair, so that's not good. Now that it's down, I'm super nervous that this isn't gonna turn out well. I'm sure it'll be fine. You know, the reviews were pretty fantastic on this stuff. Here's hoping that in a single pass with the sander, it gets everything off and it just stays in the cracks, and then we can move forward. See, like the darkness, and it'll be light. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Keep your fingers crossed. Your toes and panties also. Okay. I'm quite damp. It's 9 p.m. We're gonna see how this does. I have the 80 grit sandpaper in this still from my last round because it's in pretty good shape, and I wanna see if that's enough to take this off. And if it's not, I have one more 60 grit, which should be fine to get it all off. Worst case scenario, I have to go back to Ace tomorrow and get a 40 grit to do this, but let's test this and see how it does. Tip you down. Okay. So this is actually pretty great. Obviously you can see how the floors are not level because of, you know, there's stuff, but I'm pretty impressed so far. I'm gonna keep going with this grit, and then I'm probably gonna have to go around with the hand sander, which I really am getting fucking tired of doing just to get to the edges of everything. But I am pretty impressed with this, so that's great. Okay. Okay, it's pretty late, 11:22. I'm pretty bushed, but it looks great. The stuff didn't fully take everywhere, but it definitely took in the lanes that I like scratched the grout out, not the grout, the old poly and dirt and whatever had collected over the years in them. It definitely filled those, and it's subtle enough that your eye doesn't get drawn to it. And if anything, it is almost the exact same color as new maple flooring. So that's cool. I did several passes with the 60 grit, not the 60, God, I'm losing my mind, guys. The 100 grit. And then I vacuumed, and I've got the fan on to try and like knock all the, you know, dust out of the air and down to the ground so that in the morning I can vacuum again, Swiffer, crawl around with tack cloth, cleaning it off. Before I do any of that, I do have a little bit more sanding because there were a couple areas where the stuff was kind of damp still and it was clogging up my sandpaper. So I'm going to go back over it with the multi-tool in the morning because they're mostly in corners anyway. We're in a great spot. Tomorrow, just a little bit of work. I'll lock the cats up and then I will start putting polyurethane on. We're almost there. The house is filled with dust. Downstairs, I had the foresight to turn the air off again, but I didn't want to tarp, and because everything had a little bit of dust on it still anyway, so I just figured I have to clean it again anyway. This is this is the last thing that'll be making dust, you know, Well, that's pretty great. I'm gone. I'm going to bed. Okay, bye. I look as tired as I feel, but it's finally today, and that is the day for polyurethaning the floors. So I have everything ready. I just finished doing my final little sanding of the corners and little nooks that were still going to be visible once the baseboards go on. So you may notice some areas where it looks like there's wood filler on the floor and it's gonna be covered. I have got, this is my tool for the squeegee. I'll link all this below as well. It is called a DuraTool foam applicator that slides on to this thing. And then I am using my Verifane No Odor Floor Finish in matte, and it is a high traffic formula. This is what I've used before. I like the product, trust it. And if you're new to the channel, the reason I go with water-based rather than oil is because I do not want it to be yellowy looking. I'm gonna stir this up nicely and get applying, and then in 2 hours I can come back and do the next coat. I need to do 4 total today. Here we go. I forgot how tricky this is. It's not hard, it's just tricky because I know last time I did it, there were a couple areas that had some, not streaks, but like you could see where I had lifted the applicator. It kind of turned into like, almost like bubbles. Oh, it's getting to be a tight squeeze. That was a workout. Cover this with a bag. It's got a little bit of schmutz in it, so I'll clean that out. And then I can just pop the cap on this poly, and we're good. Welcome, guys. Today's not the funnest one because right now the polyurethane is drying. I've got 2 coats down, but it is time to start stripping. Not that way. Stripping wood. So this is my garage is a mess, but you can see 3 buckets and then the pile. That's all of the beadboard from inside the staircase. Leaned up against the wall there are the window casings and baseboards from what is now the foyer, and then the living room windows and the front door. And then off to the side there are the gigantic floorboards. Here I've got the side of the stairwell, more of the stairwell there. So today, not super fun because I'm going to be stripping, but before I can be stripping, I need to be getting the nails out of the boards. And there are a lot of nails and things that have accumulated over the years. I'm going to be, for the most part, hammering them out backward and then using this here to pry them out. Once they're all out from what I can visually see, because some of them might be hidden behind paint, then it's going to be time to start spreading stripper on these things and seeing what works best. I have the Citrus Strip. I have 2 other products that are a little bit more intense, and I have to use them outside because they can spontaneously combust, and I don't want to burn the house down. I'm going to do that. I'm a mess already. I have a fire going to burn all the lathing that I didn't get rid of and miscellaneous other pieces of wood. So that's that. If you're one of the people that bitches about people that paint original trim and you're like, how could you paint original trim? Do you want to do this to restore original trim? Because it's not for everybody and it is a pain in the ass. And I think you can see how much work goes into this. So if you are someone that comments on people's videos and you're like, I can't believe you'd paint that, stow it. A A lot of these nails are set so deep in there because the craftsmanship was that good back then that it's easier just to pull them out backwards than it is to hammer them through. But sometimes, like the one I just did, the head broke off in there. So we'll see once this gets stripped if the head's visible. It might just be covered by wood filler and that's fine. Collected just a few nails. To be fair, a good amount of these were cut in half, but most of them are whole. So we've got the stair pieces that are already removed. That includes some baseboards. Over here it is stairwell and the door frame for under the stairs. I didn't label these very well, so I had to figure out what went to what. So we've got trim bits and baseboards. This is the front door trim. That is the large window. That is the, no, excuse me. This is the tall skinny window. That's the fat window. That's the front door. Down on the floor there is the leaded glass. And then I just finished removing the nails from all of the beadboard, which is actually, I am pretty surprised how good a condition it is. And a lot of it can get glued together that is not in good condition. That being said, that wraps up a weekend of work. I tweaked my back yesterday, so I didn't get to finish this when I wanted to. Back feels better today, so that's good. A bit better, not fully better than it did. I'm gonna clean this up and order pizza. I'm gonna quickly get the citrus strip on the stairs. These are the most crucial stairs that I need to get kind of done out of the way so I can move on to the rest. But like, this is gonna be interesting. That's, I think it's called like crocodiling, or it's not alligatoring. I think it's crocodiling. And it's the old varnish and stuff. And these were, you know, these were covered with carpet for 60 years. I'm gonna cover these quick and then I'm in for the night. We are back at it in the rat's nest of a garage. Let's see how the steps and risers did. Well, this one did real well. So the risers did better than the steps. We'll see how it scrapes off because it might just be fine all around. At least out here, I don't have to worry about shit getting on the floor. Who's the lucky winner? Beulah. You. All right. Woohoo! Be cool here, please. And there are nail heads in it, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of figuring out with that. I will say that the nice thing about the citrus strip, just some dish soap, pretty much cleans it off so you don't have to like waste your gloves. Because I would need to clean this first before sanding it anyway, since there's so much residue and like I can still see that there is like varnish or shellac underneath. I am going to try this 2-minute remover. It says it's a gel. This is one of the ones you have to do outside. We're gonna see how this does. So we're gonna try using it with some steel wool, which I've never used before. Well, the steel wool's not like doing much. I'll just keep smearing this shit around and then I'll scrape it. These like big things of snot. Ew. I am gonna say that this pretty effectively stripped the rest of it off. So I'm curious next how this is without using the citrus strip. So let's test that next. Oh, it looks like a big boogie. This will be the official test piece. We'll call it that. Well, that didn't work, but okay. Yeah, don't rip, dumb bitch. Let's try the gel and see how it does. Oh man, I can see it working already. That's crazy. Do its thing for a minute. Look at how it just starts eating through. That is wild. I never finished talking about like what I was gonna stain stuff as, and I'm at present getting ready to stain all of that so I can, you know, get my butt moving on the drawing room. That's the room I'm doing. This side right here was all provincial because that is going to be the base color for everything. This side was provincial with dark walnut liquid stain on it. This was provincial with dark walnut gel, which this is tricky, so we'll come back to this. Provincial with early American life, which I hated, and then provincial with mahogany on it, and I hated that as well. The winner is with the dark walnut gel, but the edges of it, because I wanted this burnished look, the edges have Kona gel around the sides, and then I buff it in. It looks really cool. It's as close as I could get to my inspiration photo that I'd found. So I'm gonna put on provincial on all of this now. I might be able to also get on the gel stain tonight as well to let this dry overnight, and then tomorrow I can get the Kona on and then start polyurethaning, which would be great because then I am on track to get all of the windows back together by the end of the weekend. So walls are done, which is great. Really, they were the last thing to do in here before I could install the blinds. Now, I know I've mentioned a few times through this season, through the drawing room series, that I had my first collaboration, partnership, sponsorship, I don't know what you call it, whatever you call it, with Smart Wings blinds. Now, when the channel first, I hate the term went viral because like I don't feel like the channel went viral, but when the channel took off, we'll go with that, with the Christmas videos, I started getting companies reaching out to collaborate and to have me talk about their product. For the most part, a lot of it was stuff that there's no reason I would use it on the channel. Like skincare stuff was one of them, which, as some of you know from the Q&A last season, I use ivory bar soap, so that's not a thing. Others were like a drone, which I don't know why I would use that either. I maintained that if I was going to partner with a company, I wanted it to be something that I was going to use in my space. So when Smart Wings reached out, I was like, well, privacy is a big deal to me in this house. I had the privacy film on the windows before because I was too lazy to close the drapes. So blinds would be great. They reached out to suggest this collaboration and I ran with it. So we're gonna do that today. I ordered the Noah shades, or N-O-W-A, Noah. They are blackout shades because, TV room, I wanna watch movies, sometimes during the daytime, and I don't want to have a ton of light coming in. So I got cellular shades, which are like the accordion kind that zip up into the thing. What was neat about it is that they are entirely custom. They're very specific about how you are to measure for these things. So I put all my measurements in. You do have to order the blinds with a remote. I ordered a 15 channel remote, which means I can have 15 pairs of these blinds to use with this. But the cool thing is that they are also smart blinds. So you can link them to your Home Hub account. So if you have Echo devices or Google Home or I guess Apple HomeKit, I don't know. Whatever, all the things. I'm not super well versed in tech, even though I work for a tech company. So I ended up getting the one with the Zigbee motor because I knew I could get an Echo device that had a Zigbee hub in it so that I could program a schedule of when it's dark enough outside to see into the house, I'm gonna have the blinds go down. When it's the middle of the night or early in the morning, blinds go up. I don't have to touch anything. I don't have to open drapes or close drapes or any of that stuff. It'll just be done. So I've got the blinds for this window here and the small window next to it. I ordered the blinds with, you can get a white or a black frame for them or balance. I chose black because I do have, obviously the black there, and I felt like that would have a better chance. This is not the one for here. There's a bigger one. I felt like these would have a better chance of disappearing in the window and not being something that like stuck out brilliantly. But they also have a variety of fabrics that you can get in the actual shade portion, and I went with wheat. I didn't want white. I've spoken before about not wanting a ton of contrast in this space in particular, but in spaces in general. And the wheat color also matches like the wall mural. It's just a bit more subdued without being dark. I've got, where is it? Oh, sugar, where did you should always have everything with you when you start these things, and I didn't. They send a little handy thing. Now, I didn't film myself opening these up, which would have been so exciting for you all to watch, because who doesn't like boxes being opened? Amazingly well packaged, and it's funny how like you measure these things and like, obviously this is big kahuna here, 51 1/8 inches wide. Measuring it is one thing. You get the box here, like there's no way it's in there. But it is, and I kept thinking like, do they come in pieces? Nope. There are a whole bunch of guides that they send. So there's like the quick install, remote programming, and then the Zigbee motor programming. I'm gonna get these up now. They have a little opening there. You can determine what side you want the motor on, right or left. They send a USB to USB-C cable so that you can just plug them in where they're at. This thing is super long. The charge, I want to say, the charge lasts for a few months of regular operation. Some of these you could get them to hardwire into the wall. I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna put these up. It helpfully has, so these are the mounts and they pop out, but it has where the brackets have to be on this, so you're not guessing at where you're going to be putting your stuff. So it's equally balanced on the ceiling. I'm going to get these marked behind me and then get going on drill and stuff. Before I demoed the room, I had everything pre-marked, and then I, didn't think about that and covered everything up because I had it all drilled and everything. If this guy's gonna go here, which is, glorious, I'm just gonna mark and hope that this shows up, and I can just wipe this off later. Okay, so that's where the holes are. This guy, because he's not gonna go back. Oh no, my pencil! I just sharpened it too. How far back does it go? Because obviously, ow, listen here, you. Other neat thing is that you can mount these on the inside or the outside of your stuff. Unfortunately, because my windows were like retrofit, this shows them going like to the back of a window case. I can't do that in this. I can on that one. Oh, I can still see the holes. I don't need to get as crazy as I'm being right now. So it's right here and right here. I'm gonna get my drill. All right, and then they do send you all of the mounting hardware as well. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm gonna get the little brackets installed now that I got my holes drilled, and then we're ready to mount it. All right, and then it should be as easy as just, there we go. It's in. So I had to turn the lights on in here because it's so bright outside. We're going to turn them on, and they come in a sleep mode. So to activate the motor from sleep boat, geez. We're going to open this, and this is where the charging port is, and there's a power button. And you're going to press and hold it until the motor makes a single jog. That's the jog. Another neat thing that they do is these are pre-programmed to the length that you gave them the measurements, but in case they were off, there's a little bit extra give for the full length. So let me move my ladder out of the way here, and we're gonna try running these things. I spoke too soon. The instructions are pretty good. They're very robust, but there's a lot in it. Remote and motor pairing. Okay. Press any button to wake the remote. Within 10 seconds, press that to desired channel. Pairing the remote to the motor. There we go. And now it should work. Huh. There. Oh God, it did work. I didn't even do anything. There it goes. It like slowly comes to a stop just in the right spot. This is excellent. I'm very pleased with this. This is fantastic. Okay, we'll do the other one. Having these up is gonna make such a huge difference in this room because at night you always feel exposed. I've been slow to get the drapes up. It's one thing after another. Yeah, having these up makes a huge difference because now I can keep going. So if you're interested in the blinds and seeing what else they've got, there is a link below in the description. Please feel free to click that and let me know if you get them because I would love to know, and I'd love to know what you think. I will say I actually have them in the parlor as well. I've had them installed for a few months and they are truly wonderful. Another reason that I got them is because in the winter, old house, it gets cold and drafty. These shades also act as a thermal insulator. So in the wintertime, they keep the heat in, and in the summertime, they keep the heat out. That being said, I'm very happy with them. I actually want to get these for my bedroom as well for the next, phase of projects, but we'll see when I get there. Me again. So yes, that was part one of three, I guess. Well, 3 parts of part one of 3 parts that complete the drawing room. So next week we are going through the coffered ceiling. We are building the transom wall, and then we are doing all of the wall trim boxes, which you got to see right at the end of the video here. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave them below. Also, make sure you are following me on Instagram at restoring_Sean. You can always reach me there. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for sticking with me during this journey. I'm so happy that it's almost over because this drawing room has, it's been a lot. That being said, take care, and I'll see you soon.